Welcome. We'll do this again. Hi guys, welcome to 2020. We are back with a new school year, ready to get started with a new chapter, new video notes, and new everything. Did you guys have a great break? Yeah. Great Christmas. We did too, and we hope that yours was good and that you had a restful time. So this video notes is 3 pages long. 3? 1, 2, 3. 3 pages long. So keep going. Don't give up. Keep working. Keep answering the questions. And this is going to be about the Greek civilization. I know you guys are ready for this. We've been ready for this for a while. You've asked us a lot about it. So the early Greeks developed important settlements all in the area where they live. You can look at the map over here and see their city-states that they formed and where they are located. Developed important settlements, trade routes, and political ideas in the Mediterranean region. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right.
All right, here we are with Mr. Kennedy in the year 2020. We're going to look at the Greeks. All right, here we are with Greek geography on the mountains and seas. So Greece is a country on the continent of Europe. So you can see Greece is circled there right there. And then there's Greece. And then there's the continent of Europe right there. So Greece is around the Mediterranean region of Europe we're going to learn about. So the mainland of Greece is a peninsula, an area of land surrounded by water on 3 sides. We're going to talk about those seas coming up. So there Greece is, there's the continent of Europe. All right, so we're going to go through some of these, and I'll start reading these through once they come up. So the geography of Greece was rocky and mountainous. You guys can see over there in that picture that there's a lot of mountains over there in Greece, so pretty rocky. And the people in Greece are going to settle along the coastal areas and in the river valleys. So you can see a little bit of land in there in between the mountains. Those are going to be the river valleys that they're going to be forced to really settle into. So because they were around the coast, fishing, trading, and shipbuilding was very popular in Greece. With limited farming, they are not going to have a surplus because they don't have really lots of fertile land in between those river valleys. Greek towns and cities were isolated because they had to settle in those limited areas around those river valleys. And no central government. The Greek communities saw themselves as separate city-states. So you can really see their lives focused around these 3 seas. You're going to have the Aegean Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Ionian Sea. We're going to talk about those seas and why they're really important for ancient Greece. So here's our first hot question of 2020. And remember, our hot question, 3 to 5 sentences and using vocabulary. Don't forget, new year, let's get better at those hot questions. How did the seas influence the ways that many ancient Greeks lived? Use the vocab terms as much as possible. And of course, cultural diffusion. All right, guys, can't wait to see you in class.
Okay, you take it from right here. Hi, guys. Okay, we're going to talk about the Minoans. They were based on the island of Crete. They were the best shipbuilders of their time. They traded wood and pottery. And they collapsed circa 1450 BC, which means around 1450 BC, possibly due to earthquakes or invasions. We have a second group of people in Greece called the Mycenaeans. They are based on the Greek mainland. They are first to be considered Greek and spoke the Greek language. They built great fortresses and palaces and conquered the Minoans by 1400s BC. Okay, and here we have a picture of an acropolis. You're going to learn what an acropolis is when Miss Hodges talks to you, but here is the remains of the ruins in Greece of an acropolis. But I'm going to take this back 1 second. I want to, well, no, I can't. I got to go forward. It's making me go forward. Hold on. There we go. By 1100 BC, the civilization crumpled due to earthquakes and wars. I'm going to give you guys a little hint to help you remember the difference between the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. So, listen to this because it's going to help you. The Minoans, do you know what a minnow is? A minnow is a fish, right? And a fish is going to swim in water. So, the Minoans, take a look at the arrow, is pointing to the island of Crete. the minnows swim around the island, right? I mean, that's easy, light bulb moment. What I want you to do now is just draw a little picture of a fish by the Minoan, by the word Minoans. Draw the fish. Do it now. Okay. Now look at your Mycenaeans. Mycenaeans kind of sounds like mice. Mice are going to run around on the mainland. So you see your arrows pointing to the mainland of Greece. So the mice run around on the mainland. The minnows swim around the island in the water. So now by Mycenaeans, I want you to draw a mouse or mice. You could draw more than one. Do it now. I'm waiting. Go. Okay. Okay, now we're going to move on. Can we move on now, Miss Hodges? Okay. She said we can move on. So, by 1100 BC, the Mycenaean civilization crumpled. Warring groups moved in from Europe. Trade slowed down. Most people stopped reading and keeping records, and most Greeks were very poor. This period is called the Dark Ages of Greece. No, this is not the medieval Dark Ages. We don't have knights and castles and all of that. That happened around 1100 AD. We're in 1100 BC. Okay, this is the Dark Ages of Greece. People are poor. They stop reading. They stop recording records. Trade's slowing down. Then we have some colonies and trade. So by 700 BC, so we're talking 400 years later, as Greece recovered from the Dark Ages, its population increased rapidly. The rocky soil and many mountains meant that farmers couldn't support the population. Remember, 3/4 of the land in Greece is mountains. They could only farm in those flat lands. So it's become difficult to support that population. So the Greek communities began to send people outside the area to establish colonies and, here's a big one, trade with other nations. Please put a star by that. Put a star by trade, because that becomes very important for Greece to be able to sustain their life there on that mountainous area. Okay, so here at this map, you can see Greece is, I know you guys can't see where I'm pointing. Let me see if I can get that little thingy up here. What's that little thingy, Michelle? Oh, Miss Hodges, sorry. I want a different color. No, I don't want that one. I want that one. I'll do it in yellow. Let's see if that works. Oh, it worked. Okay, there's Greece. All the areas in red that surround this area are areas that they traded with. So they started to open up, and by trading, you're going to start to develop alliances and forming these relationships where you're going to see cultural diffusion happening. So Greece is beginning to expand and work with other communities to get the goods that they need. So the Greek city-states started to grow wealthier and developed their own alphabets. I'm going to show you a picture of their alphabets. So this is the ancient Greek written language. You can see it's not too far off from our English language, but I do want you to know where the Greeks got their ideas for the alphabet from. This happened through their trading relationships, developing that cultural diffusion. They encountered a civilization known as the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians had an alphabet. So the Greeks got the basis of their alphabet from the Phoenicians. Okay, that is all for me. Now you're going to hear from Miss Hodges. All right, so you've heard all about the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, and we'll talk more about them in class and give you a better picture of what it looked like where they lived. And so we want to talk a little bit about the structure of the Greek city-state. Because of their geography, they developed in the river valleys and along the coast, and they developed individual city-states. These individual city-states are also called a polis. That's a town in the surrounding area, and they're all very isolated. People thought of themselves as individual members of their polis first, not their country. So it would be like, go ahead and fill in the words. And it would be like in America if we considered ourselves more Floridian than we did American. And so, but we don't. We considered ourselves American because we are part of the American country. And although all of the city-states speak Greek and they have the same language, they still think of themselves as individual. So they think of themselves as Athenian or Spartan or from Corinth or whatever their city-state is. That's what they think. Most city-states are small because the mountains and the seas surround them. And by 500 BC, nearly 300,000 people lived in the polis of Athens. However, most of the city-states were much, much smaller. In terms, we're talking maybe 10 to 15, 20,000 people, but some even as small as 5,000 people, not a lot, because they don't have a surplus of food. It's an issue for them they have to trade in order to have enough. So every city-state has some of the same types of buildings. One of them that they had was called an acropolis, and that is a fort on the hilltop, usually located in the center of town, and as much as they can get near on top of the highest point will be where the acropolis is. The acropolis is a fort. That's where you go if you're being attacked. It's a place of safety. It's a place to go when other people are attacking your town. So that is the acropolis. But they also had something else called the agora. And if you look down here, the agora is the center of town, the center of life of the town. It's an open marketplace. It's where people could gather. They could talk about issues. They could talk about government issues. They could choose officials. They're going to go vote there. We're going to pass laws. They're going to have worship. The temples are going to be down there to their different gods. A place to exchange the goods they do have, and of course, they have a wall around their city as much as possible to keep them safe. You'll notice the farmlands are outside the city walls, and inside the city walls are where people would go to be safe. So, and there's the port city down there at the bottom, and that's what every Greek city-state or polis has the same type of organization inside. So how do you be a citizen in these city-states? Today in the United States, if you're born here, you're considered a citizen, or you can apply for citizenship. If your parents are citizens, even if you're born somewhere else, you could be a citizen. But in ancient Greece, that's not necessarily how it worked. So a citizen was a member of a political community with the rights and responsibilities that go there. Now, they go along with that. But because each city-state was individual, they all have different rules about who can be a citizen and who can't. In some places, women can be a citizen, but in other city-states, they cannot. In some places, women can own land, but in other city-states, they cannot. And we'll talk about that individual city-states and how that works later. So Greeks believed it was their responsibility to run the city-state. It was their responsibility because the polis was made up of their property, which that makes sense. If you own the property that is within the city-state, then you should give some of your time and effort to take care of everything. So we divided up between rights and responsibilities. The rights, you have the right to vote, you can own property, and you could defend yourself in court. And defending yourself in court is a really big idea that comes forward to the United States. And we copy a lot of ours. We're going to do a lot of comparisons between us and Greece. Then there's also responsibilities. And you have the responsibility to serve in government, and you could fight for your polis as a citizen soldier when necessary. So we'll talk about the rights and responsibilities, and those are two different things, and we'll talk about how those work in each city-state as we get going. All right, so if at any point, I know these notes were long, and if at any point you missed anything or you need to go back and listen to it again, it is here for you to do so. And of course, as always, we'll spend more time with these concepts and we'll work on them in class. And looking forward to a great 2020. Welcome back. Glad you're here.